I just woke up like 5 minutes ago.
I got some energizers on me because actually my sleep is so messed up. When we were scheduling that interview, this podcast, like I was usually going to sleep at 10 a.m. and waking up at like, I don't know, 6 p.m. And now it's quite the opposite. I now usually go to sleep at 9 p.m. and then wake up at like 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. So yeah, I actually need to drink some Red Bull.
I am, I didn't think I'd be able to wake up, and I was genuinely worried, but I made it, so here I am, finally. Yeah. I just want to say thank you for, I don't know, at least bothering to, join and come do this.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll just start with some random stuff. Sorry if this comes across as way too informal. I'm trying my best to keep everything gathered. I guess the sort of stuff I was going to ask is just mainly, it's a mix of things I'm interested in and also some random community things. I guess from Spooky, who's just asking, how's life going so far?
Well, I'm good. I'm not sure. What is this question exactly about?
Honestly, it's just how are you?
Okay.
Yeah.
So just normally, I thought
it's literally just someone asking how you are.
So I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, no, just that's literally all that is. Someone wanted to know how you are, so yay, doing that. So I was just wondering, generally, so you're working on, obviously, Northwood at the moment, and that is your big thing, but what was your dream job growing up? So what did you always find interesting?
So originally, my dad is an electrician, so when I was growing up, I really liked electronics. So it's not really. I actually like the small stuff, not actually high voltages, but rather small circuits, and I really like that. And I think the current job I have isn't really that different. I kind of moved onto the software from the hardware, but well, I still like very technical stuff.
Oh, okay.
That thing hasn't changed.
So this is more of an electronics type thing rather than, the wiring and all that?
Yeah. I always liked, my dad, like I said, he's an electrician, and we were doing different toys, literal homemade toys, and I'm really grateful for that. And yeah, he kind of sparked the passion to electronics, to technical stuff, and yeah.
Oh, that's fun. I always used to. I say used to, I stopped being interested. I always used to do a lot of electronic stuff, and I actually did all the wiring in my room as well. I still find that stuff interesting, but I am definitely not someone you want to call if you want a safe job done. Yeah, so I guess all that stuff on your mind, but what inspired you to start working on Secret Lab? Because I don't really know the backstory to it, I don't know if there's a wiki all about your life and what led, to the final moments before you decided to make Secret Laboratory.
So it was actually very spontaneous. I am not an SCP, I was not an SCP community member or even a big fan of SCP at the time I started working on SL. Honestly, the first time I ever heard about SCP was because my friend created a Garry's Mod game mode called Garry's Mod Breach, and it was pretty much Containment Breach in multiplayer, the first ever game.
Yeah. Sorry.
And actually, the SCP-SL originally started as a proof of concept. We wanted to see how this game mode would work if it was made on Unity, which has less technical limitations than Garry's Mod has. For example, you cannot make a randomly generated map in Garry's Mod without doing too many changes in the core, which was out of possibilities. It wasn't really something feasible at the time. So SCP-SL started as a proof of concept how Garry's Mod Breach would look like on Unity with random map generation.
I mean, I was actually curious if it started off as something else originally, since you said you weren't really into SCP.
Yeah, I really wasn't into SCP before that.
Do you think Secret Lab has made you be more interested in the SCP community?
Well, definitely, yeah. Definitely, I was really getting into that community after I started playing Garry's Mod Containment Breach, and I really liked it. And you can actually see that many early features of SCP-SL are totally incorrect lore-wise, but what I love about this community and this lore, quote-unquote, is the fact that everything is non-canon, which means it's open for any interpretations. So even if your interpretation is completely wrong, it is still correct.
You can still have plenty of freedom.
Yeah, you can take any SCP article, misinterpret it completely, and no one can tell you that there is something wrong about it, because, well, there are no canonic interpretations of the given articles.
That makes sense.
And yeah, I definitely got more interested in the whole SCP community after I started working on SL. Previously, I wasn't really that much of a fan.
I mean, I guess having a game based around SCP is a pretty good reason to get into SCP. So.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, I mean, I know if I had an SCP game, it would be for me. Do you actually have another favorite game, like besides SL? Because I have been told by people that you do really enjoy the game and you are really good at it, but is there another?
Let me quickly check.
I know on your channel, I saw Kerbal Space Program.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if
I mean, this channel is like nothing serious. It's rather like when I don't have anything to do, I usually just...
Yeah.
It doesn't really reflect my actual preferences, because
okay.
Actually my second favorite game, what I can see on Steam, I have 4,000 hours in Secret Lab, and half of that, I mean, I have 2,000 hours in Space Engineers, and this is actually quite correct. If I had to choose only one game from my Steam library that I have to play, the only game I can play, I would probably choose Space Engineers. I would probably choose Secret Lab, but then if I cannot choose Secret Lab, I would probably choose Space Engineers. And the reason why people don't really know about that is because I usually play on roleplay servers where recording or streaming is disallowed, because, well, there are factions and there are different secrets that cannot go. I mean, there's like literally no ghosting rules, so other factions cannot see what different factions do, what other factions do. So in most servers, streaming or recording is actually disallowed, and that's the reason why not many people actually know that I like Space Engineers.
Oh, I mean,
I play it a lot.
I actually really enjoy that game as well.
We should play together.
Maybe depends on if the ping's gonna be absolutely horrible. I mean, considering the...
But yeah, they're definitely... I mean, that Space Engineers is the game that I play a lot. But is it my favorite game? I'm not sure. It depends on how you define favorite. I also play a lot of Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
I would just say your favorite game is probably one you'd be willing to play the most, I guess. Or if there was only one game in your library, what would it be?
Yeah, I guess it would be Space Engineers. I just wanted to add that I actually really... that many games like Portal or Fallout New Vegas, these games, I believe they are my favorite RPGs. I mean, Portal 2 isn't really RPG, but I'm talking about games that have some kind of plot, some kind of storytelling. So these two games, Portal 2 and Fallout New Vegas, are definitely my favorites if we're talking about the story, but those games are not really replayable. I mean, you can't just spend thousands of hours in them and still enjoy them.
I mean, I still haven't even played Fallout New Vegas yet, so I can't really give an opinion yet. Dang. So I know this is probably, I don't know, it might be a stretch, because I honestly don't know how behind the scenes stuff for this, but has Northwood changed your life in any way? So has it made a big difference?
Most definitely.
I mean,
it pretty much changed everything. I mean, like I said at the beginning, this game was never supposed to be that popular. It was just a proof of concept, and Northwood was not a thing for a very long time. I mean, I originally released the game, the Secret Lab, under my name, and we decided to register that company and call our group this name. Start using a name for our group when we actually had more people in the team, and I was doing less things on my own, and other people started helping me out, and that's when we decided to change the name of our group, and instead of just using my birth name, we started using Northwood.
What is the origin of that name? Because whenever I see it, I think of like Torchwood from Doctor Who, but I feel like that wouldn't
Honestly,
be inspiration.
The answer is really disappointing. It's just we had a lot of brainstorming sessions, and we just had a poll, a voting, and we decided that Northwood sounds cool. Yeah, it just sounds good. There are many. Yeah,
no, that's fine.
It's not really that original name. If you type in that word in Google, you are getting hundreds of different results. There are different schools, cities.
I mean, hey,
many things are called this name.
If it sounds good, then why not?
Yeah, why not? There is no Northwood that makes games, so I guess that's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
plus the logo is fine. I really like the logo.
Yeah, I do too. I can't really add anything. I can't contribute. So yeah, good. Good logo. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, did you actually get anyone in to design the logo, or was it just someone in the group that did it?
Yeah. It was one of our staff members who is still with us.
Oh, cool. I guess this is kind of related. I'm not even going to ask. I just blanked and forgot. Oh, no, I remember now. I was just going to ask, what made you decide to make it public, or at what point did you think you should release the game? When it went from a test to an actual public release.
So, what I'm about to say might sound a little bit absurd, but I'm gonna start with a little. I'm gonna off-topic that a little bit. So, but I'm gonna go back to that question.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you know how long it took to release Mega Patch 2?
I remember waiting.
Yeah, 11 months.
Oh god, I didn't realize
it's
that
nothing
long.
to be proud of, and that was mostly because of the delays that weren't entirely our fault.
Yeah.
I mean, they mostly were, but those were things that at the time we were making that mistake it wasn't really up to us. Like, we did everything to release it as soon as possible, so it's not like entirely our fault because we were waiting on other companies to help us out. But well, at the end of the day, we are the only guilty ones. But this number is a real shame, especially if you notice that the game originally took only 9 months to release. I started working on it in March, and it was released at the end of 2017, somewhere in December 28th, if I remember correctly, maybe 29th. But yeah, so actually releasing Mega Patch 2 took longer than releasing the whole game. We started giving out betas after like first 5 months, and then the game was released completely. I mean the first version was publicly released after 9 months of development.
I was just wondering if there was a reason for that, or if it was always the plan.
No, I mean, originally, like I said, SL was just a proof of concept. It was never supposed to be public. It was never supposed to be anything that other countries will enjoy. It was only a simple project for me, my friends, to test out how Garry's Mod Breach would look like.
I mean, it's kind of that, but on a bigger scale now. Yeah. I mean,
it is relatively popular.
I would say so. Definitely quite a few communities and active player base.
I can definitely say it's way more popular than I anticipated.
Yeah. I don't know, so you said becoming a studio was something that happened later on after the game was, made. Would you say, or do you still think you have as much freedom as you did before since becoming a studio?
So we should define freedom here. If we're talking about, say,
I can define it if you want.
Yeah, sure.
So by freedom I mean the ability to, I guess, make changes that you want to the game, or the amount of control you have over the game without needing input from other people.
So there are also two ways to look onto that topic, because, well, technically now I have to ask a few people in order to add certain change, to perform certain change to the game. I need to ask a few individuals. We refer to them as dev heads, development heads,
Yep.
people who manage individual departments. But honestly, if that's the cost, if this is what we refer to as the freedom cost,
Oh no.
it's definitely not like that, because these people have abilities that I didn't have, and I will probably never have, because I will never be able to replace every single person in the studio.
Okay.
That's physically impossible.
Oh no, that...
So I'm definitely able to make more changes that I would like after we already have the studio and we are already a group of people. So yeah, I wouldn't say I feel less free.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely free.
No, that wasn't...
I definitely feel better.
It wasn't supposed to be a negative question or anything. I was just wondering how it, if it felt any different, or... of course,
I'm still the game director, so I still have the final say of what's added and what isn't. So it's not like somebody else took
it's not like you stepped down.
my idea and started doing something completely different that I wanted to.
I can see how that would definitely be helpful, especially having a team of people. Actually be able to do a lot more things. I was out of curiosity, I know I've said out of curiosity way too much, I'm going to stop. Do you have any plans for Northwood to expand to other games in the future, or will it remain a secret lab thing?
It's a difficult question, because the thing is, we aren't really a big company. Like, if we really compare our budget to our popularity, we currently don't have enough budget to actually run such a relatively popular game and pay every single staff member a regular wage they would get at any other company. This current company, currently our studio, myself included, we are not really getting too much for ourselves. Most of our budget that we get from our patron is spent on development, and pretty much everything is spent on development, paying licenses, paying servers, paying everything. And what is left for me, for other managers and other people, is below any minimal wages in most countries. It's rather just a compensation for certain time, or even payments that we do from our personal money. And we currently, what I'm trying to say is that this current studio is a group of people that are...
It's a passion project.
Hobbies, and we just want to work on SL because we like this game. Other people like just developing this game. We actually have some people that don't like the game but like developing it because they like the concept. If we wanted to start a new game, a new project, probably, I'm pretty sure most of the staff members wouldn't be willing to do that, wouldn't be really interested in doing that. We would need to build a completely new studio, but then the other project, we don't really have any funds for it, because currently pretty much every single penny is spent on SL. So it's definitely not something we would like to do now. That's not something feasible.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, I guess, if that's the situation. Yeah, I can see why you wouldn't really want to branch out and try to do too much else. I did have another question, but similar to that whole expansion thing before, but I guess if budget is a concern, I don't think this would happen. I was just saying, I've seen the art that was done for the menu, the information menu, and I've also seen some concept art and all that, and I know you have either a very talented artist or a few of them. And I was just wondering if making a short comic or an animatic to try and help promote the game has ever come into anyone's minds?
It definitely has come, but this idea definitely wasn't really developed too much. I mean, if we are talking about promoting the game, our current best choice is simply promoting it with other streamers and YouTubers and other people that pretty much players, because currently, according to our community surveys, the game's primary way to obtain new players is either because somebody watched this game on YouTube or on Twitch, or because it was recommended by a friend, which means currently we technically could invest money in making advertisements or other promotional art, but to be honest, there's no way it's gonna be an actual investment when we invest money with the hope of getting that money back. Because no matter how, what do we want to do, we will always spend more money than we can possibly get from the people that have been convinced to the game because of that advertisement.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Don't worry.
Currently it's way more beneficial for us to just keep promoting the community, to make the community happy, and let them promote the game by themselves.
A more community-driven game than an advertising-driven game.
You know, we don't want to ask every single YouTuber and pay them and give them paid promotions, but
I mean, I have noticed long waves of streamers picking up occasionally. Then you get the whatever it is. 100.
You know, if the game is good, it's gonna promote itself. If you have a rather problematic game, you need to pay for its promotion.
Yeah, I guess that's how it works.
I mean, it's not always the case, alright? I'm not trying to say that every single game who spent at least 1 penny on advertisements is already a bad game. I'm just saying
clearly the worst, you know.
Yeah.
If they have to spend any money on advertising, they're doing it wrong. Yeah. So I guess we could ask some more development-based questions rather than general stuff, although this kind of is development questions so far. So I guess this wouldn't just apply to you. I guess this would also be for anyone else in the studio who's working on the game. What was the hardest glitch you had to fix, or anyone had to fix? Is there just a notorious one? When you think of a bug in the game you had to fix, is there just one that comes to mind?
It depends on how you measure difficulty of glitches. Because before I answer that, you can I mean, in case I'm actually going too much off topic, just let me know. I'm just gonna go straight to the point. So if we have different kind of, we can have different kind of bugs. We can, sometimes it's just, if the game is completely unstable and everything is falling apart, you can have two most common scenarios. It's either only one very simple reason that causes all of those glitches, or there are many different glitches that individually wouldn't do anything, but together they cause something completely unrepairable and hard to diagnose. So that's actually the more complicated. That's actually then the more complicated kind of glitches, where multiple things go wrong and you cannot really pinpoint which one to start with. And that's something that actually happened in Mega Patch 2, and I think that this is going to be my answer. So all the glitches that resulted in Mega Patch 2, in the Mega Patch 2 delay, being different kinds of networking glitches and other stability problems. To be honest, I fortunately already forgot what were the exact reasons why that delayed the Mega Patch 2. What I remember is that we had many different networking issues where players got completely, like, randomly kicked out from the sessions, the connection was unstable. Sometimes you could join the server, you could do things normally, but other players did not see you moving or doing anything. We had many different issues, and it's really hard to tell you which one was the worst.
Oh.
Usually the worst one is the one that's hard to diagnose, because many people say that we should optimize the game or that we should backfix or we should fix certain bugs. But honestly, fixing bugs themselves is not a hard thing. It's the harder part is actually
trying to find them.
Finding the reason why the bug occurs. It's actually harder to diagnose the issue. If we can easily recreate the issue and we can isolate the exact scenarios when the glitch happens and when it isn't, that's relatively easy to fix. But if glitches occur randomly, like everything, many different glitches that we currently have in SL, caused by the anti-cheat, caused by the player list not showing all the players.
Yes.
We have many different glitches in the game that happen very randomly, and it's really hard to tell you when exactly it occurs and when it doesn't.
Yeah, I was
what are the exact conditions?
When I was asking that, I was mainly thinking of stuff like there's one bug I know of in game. It's I don't see a correlation, but I guess it kind of makes sense. You know the heavy armory?
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to escape 939 and playing the game, and I thought, I'm going to go out on my own terms, so I'm going to jump off the edge. And that's when I found that if you jump off there at a specific point, you get teleported to a random cross-section in heavy containment, and you can just evade whatever it is. It was an accidental discovery. But it's stuff like that I assume would be a hard sort of a bug, because it's a kill zone.
Many issues that actually happen in the game right now are caused because the development was very, very rapid after the releasing of the game. Immediately after we released the game, I released the game because originally I was by myself. The game had multiple issues, and I also wanted to add different features. So I started adding more features that are very poorly designed, that were very poorly written if we're talking about the code, which essentially means that the game was still having glitches, and I was adding more features that also weren't that good on their own. It's like trying to build a building on a rusty foundation, and also the bricks you use for the building there are holes in them, and they can just fall apart at random times. So I was not only using poor bricks, I also didn't repair the foundation that was like more important at the time.
Do you think in the future you're, I guess Northwood as a whole, do you think you're going to start working on, I guess, more fleshed out and I guess fixed features, or bug checking as much as you can beforehand, or do you think you'll try to add as many things as you reasonably can, but then go back and fix it all up?
Our current goals for pretty much every update that we do right now is to refactor some portion of the code. Refactoring is rewriting the code to meet the new standards without actually changing its external behavior. Which means, I'm not sure if you noticed, we have recently refactored the doors script.
I remember.
So even though the doors technically work the same way, they look very much the same, but they are way more stable and there are less issues related to them. I mean, originally they were more issues because, well, that was a fresh code, but now it's super easy to find those issues, to repair them without having to distract half of the game in order to fix one glitch. So we can fix a glitch without causing 10 another ones.
I still find it quite funny that a door is such a big obstacle, or at least such a big focus. I know
this game is actually based on doors. I mean, yeah, the game depends on doors.
Yeah, if you don't have a door working, I guess that's pretty much the entire game over.
I mean, that's why people that don't like 079 usually state that this SCP can't do anything but closing and opening and locking doors. But it's pretty much the whole game depends on what doors are open and which ones are closed.
Yeah, I mean, that's that. Once again, I really feel like I can't add too much. Yeah, door. There you go. Just, I assume if that were done, you just have the big bold text, just SCP Secret Lab. We have door. Anyway, here's a
so
random.
maybe I'm just gonna finish answering the question. So yeah, the main focus on pretty much every update right now is to refactor some portion of the code. I think I can tell you. I actually sent you one video, which we aren't going to talk about right now.
Yeah, I know.
But that was we are currently focusing on refactoring the inventory code, which is also a huge mess right now in SL. So if there's anyone listening who ever made some plugins or cheats or whatever to SL, they know that the character class manager and the inventory scripts are one of the most dirty scripts in the game. There are so many dependencies on them, and if there is something wrong happening to them, half of the game doesn't work.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
I haven't messed around with doing any customizations or changes to the game. I haven't really done too much of that yet. So about the game, I guess less inventory and doors and more playable things or interactable things. What sort of SCPs or, I guess, items would you be interested in adding to the game? And this is stuff that maybe, you know from a game design point or implementing it would not work. Might not work, but what sort of thing, if you could have any SCP or item in the game, what would it be added?
So, that's actually an interesting question, and I think it actually... it's actually quite simple. So, are there any SCPs that I would like to be added to the game, but I know they aren't gonna work? There are definitely many SCPs that I know wouldn't work, and that's all kinds of SCPs that are somehow related to places or things that are not really containable in regular rooms, like SCP-682. I mean, you could technically create a dedicated game mode, but come on. We're talking about some simple additions, not something that would require us to rewrite the entire game.
Yeah.
Definitely things like Able or SCP-076, if I recall correctly.
Yep, that's right.
And there are many different SCPs that aren't really containable in a facility like ours. Are there any SCPs out of them that I would like to get added? I'm not sure, because like I said, I'm not really that much of an SCP fan, and I usually look at SCPs by the prism of how they would look in the game. So if there is something that I can see that it wouldn't really work great in our game, I'm not really that interested in that SCP. There are obviously some exceptions. So there are some SCPs that I really like as a concept, but don't really see them in the game. But I'm not sure if that's really... many of them are actually Polish SCPs. I really like some Polish SCPs.
Oh, I haven't really. I don't know if there are any different ones if you go to different places, but I haven't really seen too much outside of the English wiki. All I know is that the Russian wiki had some. But
different countries have different sub-wikis where that has some unique SCPs that aren't really translated to English.
I was only really aware of a couple of Russian ones, and that was about it, I think. Which is, I should probably look into others. I think that definitely helps.
There's one cool Polish SCP, SCP-007-PL. It's an object that fortunately does not exist. That's the name of it. I'm really just translating it on the go, so the translation will not be 100% accurate.
That's fine.
I'm just doing it out of my mind right now. So generally, that's an SCP that you cannot write about, that you cannot think about, because it has some... It drives people crazy if they think about it. So, but the thing that actually helps you describe it and talk about it is denying its existence. So the whole article is, if the object existed, it would be contained in that and that. But fortunately, it does not exist.
Oh,
that's pretty much this article.
It reminds
me. The whole article is like a hypothetical. I can't even pronounce the word. yeah, a hypothetical existence of that SCP, but literally every other sentence says that it fortunately does not exist.
I know I've seen a similar SCP where I can't remember. I think it just can't be described. Like, you cannot talk about it or describe it. So the way they went or got around that was by talking about everything that it wasn't, which is yeah, that's gonna be kind of a pain to do. Oh, fun. So I guess it's kind of I think I can guess from what you said before about the code for the inventory and the doors and everything. How do you feel about the current state of the game?
Well, it also depends. Obviously,
yeah.
I am really proud of this game because, well, it became something bigger than I ever expected. But this game isn't really. It's really hard to describe how I feel about it. I have many mixed feelings about this game because I know there are many things that I should do better, many things that I could have done better.
It's a child. You need to nurture it for a while longer.
Yeah.
It can't just run by itself. You need to hold its hand for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think I can kind of guess because I can tell you're definitely very proud of it, and it's got to be a fairly big project that you're happy with. But there's also those tiny. I say tiny. There's also some of those other code things.
There are definitely many things that I'm ashamed of. Many bad decisions that were made during this process.
I mean, as long as it works out in the end, it should be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy where the game currently is. It could be in a better place if I played it better. But hey, there's nothing you can expect from me. Again, I'm just a random guy whose game just got randomly popular for unknown reason.
Yeah, I am.
So it's quite normal that I made many mistakes on the way.
Yeah, that's understandable. Not everyone can be expected to, make the perfect decision every time without thinking. You don't just walk into a room and, type for about an hour and come out with a perfect game. Although that would be nice. So
definitely would.
I guess this relates back to an earlier thing about, you were talking about budgets and all that. Have you ever considered adding, buyable items and cosmetics to the game, or at least some, I guess just something for people to pay for that they can get a benefit from in-game?
Yes, and that is one of our plans. I mean, it kind of puts us in a difficult legal and moral situation. Legal because we first needed to replace the 173's model, which currently is completely copyrighted, and there is only a very small exception that you can use the 173 model only for non-commercial projects. So we are technically already balancing on the edge of law by having the Patreon page. Technically, it's just donation, and it's not directly related to the 173 model. They are not paying directly for the 173 model.
They're supporting the
but it's
studio.
already kind of balancing on the edge of law, and
so I guess
different lawyers can have different view on that.
I guess we would have to wait for Matthew.
Yeah, we would have to wait for Matthew, but it's definitely something we would like to have. And the other reason, like I said, we have legal and moral reason. We still use a lot of assets from Containment Breach, and it's not really looking good if we suddenly started earning a lot of money on assets that aren't entirely ours. So I guess we should rather replace more. It's definitely going to be a long process. I'm not saying that we will definitely replace every single Containment Breach asset before we introduce the cosmetic items.
Would you like to
but
get to a lot
we would
of
like to. Yeah, we it's not really that good. We don't really feel good about monetizing the game if we are still mostly Containment Breach assets.
That did get me a little bit curious, so I have two questions, I guess, from what you said. So the first thing is, you're talking about containment breach assets and, feeling good morally. But have you ever considered reaching out to one of the SCP developers, or the original containment breach developers?
I have a contact to Vain Brain,
Oh, yeah.
who was, I'm not sure if he's still in charge of containment breach, but we actually had a few conversations. So, like, I guess we can say that we don't have any negative feelings to each other. They're rather positive than negative.
Yeah.
Well,
I know that.
What is your question again?
Oh no, I was just wondering if you've ever considered reaching out to any of the containment breach developers to either work on SL or anything like that, just to get involved with it.
I mean, if they want to join, they can just send us a message, and we're happy to accept them if they have something to offer.
Yeah.
We're definitely not going to force anyone to work on SL only because they are related to the SCP world. If there are people happy to help us, we're not really, like I mentioned before, we don't have a big budget, so our current group, our current studio is rather a group of fans that just enjoy working and making SL a better product. It's not technically a product then, but yeah, a better game.
Yeah, and I was just curious really, because I know they are similar-ish games, and also the other thing is, I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, so this might be a thing you have to skip, but what sort of things we considering adding to the game in terms of payment? As in, would you want it to be a more donation-focused thing with perks that happen to come along with it, or, a skin or something?
Well, so currently we use Patreon to sell information. Many people say that we actually put information behind a paywall, but honestly, that's the only thing we can currently sell. The other thing is open beta. So we, before we add a new update onto the open beta branch, we usually give it, we always give it to Patreon supporters, so they have exclusive access alongside with our official partners, so like streamers and YouTubers. So they have access. They have access to the game before it gets officially released. Same with information. They get certain sneak peeks before the general public knows about it. So they get some form of exclusiveness, and that's pretty much the only two things we can sell right now. If we were to add the microtransactions to the game, then probably we could completely get rid of the Patreon, be more open to the community, so we wouldn't have to restrict any information just for the Patreon supporters. We could just directly go to the public and talk openly about things we are planning to do, which should probably which would be a good thing, because that would shorten the distance between the developers and the community, which I think is a good thing. And the beta could be simply a purchasable DLC.
Oh, okay.
And that's essentially it. That's how the entire Patreon could be moved onto the Steam. Other things included skins. We don't want any skins that actually affect the gameplay. Nothing that actually changes the gameplay.
Yeah.
We only wanted some small cosmetics. Like weapon skins, maybe some small character details, like you can... So we're kind of going TF2 style, so you can have maybe a different hat on the D-boy instead of having the beanie, or the... It's not really a beanie. Yeah. The thing on the head. I forgot what's the name for that. Oh, okay, it is a beanie.
It might have another name, but I always call it a beanie. It looks like a beanie.
So character and weapons customization, that's something that we could do as a paid DLC, and I think that as a paid cosmetic, as a paid item, and I think that's actually a good balance between putting things behind a paywall and still getting money out of it. So people still have access to everything. People have access to all the content, and if you want to somehow customize yourself, if you want to somehow make yourself more
personal.
Yeah, to personalize everything. You can just buy some minor stuff. Obviously, not everyone is going to be happy about that, but I still believe it is actually better than restricting information from the public, so we can keep it like secret and sell it. I think actually the cosmetic items are the lesser evil, because the game development costs, and no matter what we do, we always need to get some money, because, well, it all costs.
Yeah, you always need to pay the people that actually work on it. Or at least...
Yeah, so it's not going to be always completely free and everyone is going to work for exactly free, because, well, even if everyone in the studio works completely for free, we still have licenses to pay, we still have central servers to pay. We're not gonna ask every single big corporation to give us free servers because we want to be volunteers, so we need them to give us free servers. We always need to get some amount of money. Currently, I guess I could say that the current minimal amount of money to keep the game running is a little bit over $1,000. So it's actually not that small. It's actually quite costful to keep the game running. If we didn't have that budget, if we didn't have $1,000 a month, we would need to start downgrading. The servers would load much slower. The security systems, like the authentication systems and so on, would work less efficiently, and probably the servers wouldn't be that stable, because, well, I'm happy to announce that we didn't have any central server issues for over a year. There were only some Steam issues, but those are not actually up to us. So for over a year we didn't have any server related issues on our end.
Oh, fun. I mean, I've never really encountered any major issues, I'd say. That's just like the occasional tiny thing here and there. How do I link this back, or do I just ask immediately? So, yeah, I'm not even gonna try. What's the process like preparing for each update? So this is not the coding itself, but before each update, what do you do to prepare for it? As a studio, I guess.
I am...
do you just, well, I mean, are you the sort of people that sit down in a group for like 5 hours in a call and just plan everything out? Or is it during development you just have an idea that pops into your head and you write it down for later?
Okay, I'm not sure if I can actually describe every single step, but I'm gonna generalize it a bunch.
Generalize it.
We have different development teams. The biggest ones are programmers, art, and sound design. We also have security, but these are just another kind of programmers, in most cases. So before we start working on an update, we make and we also have game designers. That's also quite important. I skipped that because we have one person who manages art and game designers. We also have quality assurance, but that's not really a development team. That's rather a quality assurance team. So it is not really. But yeah, we're gonna talk about them in a second.
Yep.
So when we want to talk about so game designers on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, they just work. They produce different concepts. They describe pros and cons of different solutions, and over time we are getting like a lot of stacks of different game design proposals. And when we release an update, so like recently we have finished releasing Scopophobia, and we are now focusing on the next major update, which is 11.0.
Yep.
And we had a dev heads meeting. So meeting of all development heads, so managers who managed in those teams. We reviewed a bunch of proposals and decided a final list of things that we definitely want to have in that update. And while we are also assigning people who are going to work on different projects. And if it happens that one team finishes a project before the other team has finished, we can then add new tasks, new proposals. Like something, we have primary and secondary goals. Primary goals are the ones that we definitely want to be added, and secondary goals are the ones that we are including if we are waiting for the primary goals to get added. So if there are some people that have free time and we still have time to implement that, then we are also implementing the secondary goals. And yeah, if everything is implemented, that goes to quality assurance testing process, which means staff members and QA testers try to break the game as hard as possible. We are fixing bugs. Then we are moving on to the patron beta, and then if the patron beta lasts for quite a long, we are lowering the prices for the patron beta until we release it on the public beta, and then it gets released to the public, like on a regular non-beta branch.
Oh, cool. I mean, you can't see it, but I'm nodding my head right now.
Sure.
Yeah,
I can imagine that.
Yeah, great social cues right here. You know, nod in a voice call. Oh, I'm nailing this.
Yeah, obviously it's way more complicated because we have marketing in a way, we have community management.
There's always the tiny steps.
Yeah, the general step, just to summarize it, we have a bunch of proposals, we decide which ones we want to get implemented, then we move to implementation, then to testing, then to releasing. So like a standard pipeline.
Yeah.
It probably looks like that in most studios.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of hard to test changes that you haven't even decided which changes you want to do. But yeah, that's it.
So about the updates doing, I guess this has already kind of been answered. I was gonna ask, are there any plans for an update dedicated to optimization and bug fixes? But as you said earlier, you're slowly going to be reworking the game bit by bit, so I assume...
Yeah, I'm not sure if having a dedicated optimization or dedicated bug fixing update is something people really want. That sounds good on a paper, but in reality, people are gonna complain that we have just spent a couple of months on an update that doesn't actually change anything with the game. Because usually people who complain about optimization, it isn't actually that big of a group, and I'm really sorry to say that, but in reality, it's just a smaller group of people that just yell very loudly. They have their reasons, and they're valid reasons, because obviously the game definitely doesn't run as it looks. The game looks way worse than modern games, and runs way worse than modern games.
Yeah, I was just going to think, the only example I can really think of are 30 series cards playing the game. But that's about it.
I can assure you though, and that's also something I'm probably going to be hated for. The general optimization of the game will not improve if we are talking about... If you're currently having problems running the game, you will probably keep having those problems until you upgrade your PC. Because if we are going to introduce some optimization, it is only because we want to improve the graphics.
Yeah.
So we are going to optimize certain elements of the game so we can introduce new elements that are also performance heavy. So if we wanted to make the game prettier, we will optimize the old systems and replace them with the new ones, and the general performance efficiency will remain around the same, but the game will become more and more beautiful over time.
Okay. So I guess that'd be compatibility as well being added as well. Oh, I just said as well twice, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, I guess this is even more even more technically bug fixes. How do you feel about how the anti-cheat is at the moment, and is there a plan or anything, whether you can talk about or not, to combat future cheats and exploits in the game?
That's a Red Bull. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
I didn't really... so yeah, combat. And okay, I didn't really understand the question.
Okay.
I was listening to you,
sorry.
I just didn't really understand.
So how do you feel about the anti-cheat at the moment, and is there a plan to try and, I guess, prevent future cheats and exploits in the game?
Currently, I believe our cheat has too many false positives. Our anti-cheat has too many false positives. It is currently far more likely to get false positive by the anti-cheat than to actually meet a cheater. What is false positive? I'm not sure if I have to define what's...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most people know what a false positive is.
So, I'm just gonna use a simpler language here. It's way easier to get killed by the anti-cheat than to get killed by a cheater or because someone was cheating. and that's something we definitely do not want to continue. So reworking our anti-cheat to generate less false positives is one of our goals. We are currently relatively happy with the amount of cheaters we have in our game, because the numbers are handleable, whatever the word is. No, I was actually going to say that we can handle.
Oh, sorry, yeah, sorry,
them.
no.
That there are.
You can handle them.
Like, if you look at other games, I'm not sure if I'm actually allowed to say that, but like say Counter-Strike or other games, obviously they're completely there's way more popular games than ours. Like Counter-Strike is way more popular than ours, so like comparing our game to them is really not the most appropriate thing. But well, you are very likely to find a cheater on on a CS:GO match unless you have a paid shield, which I believe is called Prime.
Yeah. It could also just be a popularity thing because there's just more people, so more people want to, I guess, exploit it.
Yeah, but also notice that our game is completely free, so technically banning one cheater means that the guy can create a new Steam account and continue cheating. Yeah. So we are not forcing them to buy a new game. And if we ever, I'm actually gonna sell you a a small feature, a small plan. If we ever added competitive mode to SL, it would definitely be a paid feature. It's not because we are greedy, it's because we don't want cheaters to just create new Steam accounts and ruin others' ranks. Believe me, maybe we add a free version of that, but having a paid option where you can only pay with people who have paid that for that DLC is definitely going to be the necessity, because otherwise, well, it is there is something satisfying. If you're fighting cheaters, you know that if you ban them, they need to pay you once again in order to play again. So there is something satisfying about cheaters, and actually it sells itself, because then we can pay the moderators, the game moderators, to do their job and ban those cheaters, because, well, every time they ban someone, we are almost certain they will be forced to buy a new copy of the game.
Yeah, so it's just a way to disincentivize just spamming random accounts that don't fix you own stuff, I guess. So here's a slightly more positive one, I guess, away from bugs and cheats. What's coming to the future of SL that you're allowed to talk about? So there's some stuff I'm aware of and some stuff I'm not. So I know that there's a surface rework planned at some point. I know that Matthew's going to be a thing and that scopes are having minor changes, but are you allowed to talk about anything else?
Well, you actually said everything I was about to say.
Whoops, sorry.
Currently, we have... No, that's fine. We have 3 major projects, being the Surface Zone, the 173 rework, and the Weapons rework. And that's going to be one of the... one of those features is going to be in 11.0.
Yep.
And yeah, so that is our short-term plan. I guess I could tell you that we are also going to add a lot of smaller. I think I am allowed to tell you that we are also reworking things like the Tesla Gate and the inventory that I mentioned previously. I'm not gonna tell you or actually send you any videos of the new Tesla Gate, but it has new sounds, new visuals. If you want to see it, you can always support us on Patreon, because that's in the Patreon post. I mean, I'm talking to the people who are watching that podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I
can show you later on how it looks, but yeah.
Oh, sure. So about the weapon rework, I do actually have another community question, or just, from Pantheon. And this is...
I'm actually gonna before you actually ask this question, we have the proposals ready for all 3 projects. So if you have any questions, I can answer them. And because I'm answering that question, it doesn't mean that it's going to be added in the next update. I'm just saying that I know every single thing about the upcoming features because they are already finished proposals.
You're in
if
charge.
you ask any questions. If you ask any questions, the fact that I'm answering them does not mean they're gonna be in the next update.
Yeah, I'm not gonna push an insane amount for that. If there's stuff you're willing to share, that's fine, but I think that's been pretty good so far. No, all I was gonna ask is a random question for the community, so I don't know if this I don't know if this is a serious one or not, or entirely serious. What's your favorite E11 loadout?
What's my favorite E11 logo?
Loadout. You know, like attachments and all that.
Oh,
Yeah,
loadout. Holy, it has actually changed a lot. What is my favorite? I often change the setup based on the situation, and I think that's something that you learn after a certain amount of hours spent in the game. The ability to actually know when it's the time to change the attachments, because having only one setup is never going to be perfect. If you want to have the maximum advantage, you should always change the setup accordingly to what's going on in the game. The most universal setup I start with is the night vision scope, muzzle booster, and laser sight. This has several benefits because night vision can be used as a flashlight, so it's the most universal in my honest opinion, because night vision compensates for the lack of the flashlight as opposed to the sniper scope, because sniper scope is technically better on the longer distance, but it's not really that significant, and the night vision can be used as a flashlight. Laser sight is cool if you're not so the night vision scope is good for flashlight. It's also good for fighting enemies at a distance. The laser sight is is actually better if you're fighting on a closer distance. Same with the muzzle booster. Currently, muzzle booster is a little bit overpowered. If we didn't include the weapons rework in the next update, we will probably remove the damage addition to the muzzle booster. So we will simply make that muzzle booster increases your fire rate, but it does not affect the damage.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was that was a bit more. That was a bit more of an answer than I was expecting. I don't,
so yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. What made you? So I know you're working with Unity. SL is a Unity game. What made you decide to stick with Unity over other things? So that would be Unreal Engine, or I've only ever made games in Unreal Engine and Unity. Help. But what made you decide to stick with it?
Well, it's the reason why I can tell you why it's not Source. Many people actually, for some reason, tell me that SL could work very well on Source Engine. If you want SL on Source Engine, go play Garry's Mod Breach, because Garry's Mod is on Source. And, well, yeah, the reason why we started doing SL on Unity is because of Source's limitations.
Yeah, you have more freedom.
Or Garry's Mod's limitations, but it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Because Garry's Mod, well, it gives you pretty much all the Source's tools.
It's a pretty open version of Source.
Yeah, that definitely answers why we are not going to port the game to Source. Also, I know that the question is not really asking why we are not porting the game, why we are not changing the engine, but why we chose Unity. I'm gonna answer that in a second.
Yeah, that's fine.
I just want to say, because that's really important, changing the game engine is not something you can do with a single click of a button. You need to start from scratch if you want to change the engine. You need to completely change the game, start doing the game over again, and doing that is literally impossible. I'm sorry, I really want to say that. That's really important for me to say that.
I have been a part of I guess more indie games, or I've also made my own games before, and I am fully aware of what a nightmare it is. So I was just curious why Unity over something else. It's just it was there. You understood it.
The answer is very simple, because I was the most experienced in Unity at the time I started doing SL, and to be honest, at this point there aren't that many differences between Unity and, say, Unreal.
Yeah.
If we had to start the game over again, I'm pretty sure we would achieve very similar results no matter if we chose Unity or Unreal. There would be some minor differences, maybe the game would be more optimized on Unreal, but at the same time, the entire studio that we currently have has been trained to use Unity and has been gathered
so it's more practical
among people who use Unity. So if we wanted to change the engine and start over again, we would need to completely fire most of our staff and hire new people.
Oh, that sounds completely reasonable. Don't see why you don't just do it tomorrow.
Only to get pretty much the exact same results.
Oh,
because,
that really sounds worth it.
It's the reason why SL works so poorly and looks so poorly is not because of the engine limitations. It's because of our team and budget limitations.
It takes time to do things.
It takes time and money to make a pretty game, and no engine will change it.
Yeah. So about the engine and development time, I know that a while ago there were some changes. I don't know too many specifics, but I know that maybe the game won't boot if you make changes outside of a custom file, but would you ever consider supporting modding in the future? And by that I mean client-side changes, or no?
It really depends on what kind of changes we're talking about.
Just generally, so I know that people made occasionally custom models like MTF variants, or they made their own skins and sound packs, all that stuff. Would you...
Well, we're generally not big fans of mods, and I really have mixed feelings because before we actually talk about... I'm sorry, I'm really going off topic in every single question, I know.
Oh, it's fine, it's interesting.
I always like to do some introduction and some background story before I actually answer that question. Yep. So I want to make sure that people understand the reason why I answer this way and not the other. Well, we're not really big fans of server-side modifications, and I really have mixed feelings here because many servers are popular only because they have some really interesting plugins, and I'm pretty sure our community wouldn't be that big if every single server was exactly the same. But on the other hand, when people complain about certain features or maybe balance or maybe the game balance or other things, they usually complain because they play on highly modified servers.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fan
I've been watching many reviews and many videos on the internet about how SL is broken, and every single time when they say that something is not working as it should, they show a background footage of them playing on a server where a guard. So like they say something that there's an argument that SCPs are way too weak because they can get killed even by the guards, and I can see footage of someone spawning as a guard with 200 additional ammo at the beginning. There is a reason why guards have only 35 additional ammo at the beginning. It's for them to not fight the SCPs, but rather to help. The weapons are only supposed to scare off D-boys, so they can easier move the personnel closer to the entrance zone by the time MTF enters.
Can I just add in like something that I know of that was a big thing similar to that? I know scopophobia. I mean, you may have heard of this update. You know, it's in a game called SL. Don't know if you've heard of it, but there was an update called scopophobia, and 096 was reworked. And I know that there were many complaints in Pantheon about how 096, the features and mechanics were completely broken. And it was really negative until they realized it was an issue with one of the plugins that just completely broke 096.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about.
It was just a random plugin. It wasn't anything to do with the base game.
Currently, also, most of the servers either use Exiled or SMod, and some bugs that happen in the game are not really caused. I'm not talking that there are absolutely no issues with the vanilla game at all, but I'm just saying that people usually, the bugs that you instantly notice after a new update releases usually are caused by either Exiled or SMod or other plugins servers use, because if there is an obvious issue that is visible right after you join a server, such as having problems with like opening doors or whatever, that's something that definitely would be caught at any time of our testing pipeline. these issues usually only happen after the release, and they are if there are any obvious issues in the game, there are after a new patch is released, they are most likely caused by one of the plugins or something external, because well, obvious bugs are always caught by our team and fixed before the game releases. So yeah, so that's why I have some form of a negative attitude to any form of mods, especially if we're talking about client-side mods, because well, they can cause even more issue. Because currently, if we have server mods, if a certain server screws too many times, people stop playing on them. But we are not able, and that's kind of a free market rule over here. People just play on the server that is the best, technically, in theory. But if we let clients install client-side mods, we have no control over who uses what kind of mods, and there's no way to verify if certain glitches happen because of the mods or whatever.
Yeah, I know over in Oceania, or however you say it, Australia, that sort of region, I know that all of the Pantheon servers and the official servers just run exiled, like 1 or 2 plugins, and they're pretty vanilla. So most people over here have I guess a slightly more negative outlook towards all of those heavily modded servers, or ones with a ton of plugins.
Yeah, so do I. I personally do not play on heavily modified servers. All of my friends play on Unlimited STP, and I'm sorry. I really like Unlimited STP. I played on that. That's a great community, but I really cannot stand the amount of mods on it. I really do not enjoy playing on such a heavily modified server, and I'm sorry for bringing Unlimited STP as an example, but this is one of the most popular heavily modded servers, and honestly, I really do not enjoy playing so heavily modified game, but well, people find it interesting. That's actually a very popular game mode, and I'm pretty sure there is a reason why people play it, but well, I made the game, so it is kind of obvious that I will always enjoy it the most in the purest form. Because if I wanted something changed, I would just add it to the basic game instead of having to rely on the plugins. But so don't take my opinion to your hearts.
No,
play as you wish. Play on any servers you want. Definitely do not stop playing on Unlimited SCP because I don't enjoy it. If some is going to. So yeah.
So I guess I can ask this to lead into the next question. So what's the story behind Hubert Ball in Light Containment? I know we've seen it in events and all that.
I think humor is randomly generated. So I actually cannot remember that, but I'm pretty sure it was my face, like the current face that I have on my avatar. It kind of became a meme, and people started putting it on everything. On bread, on bombs, on like if I just type in HUB in my emoji search bar, I have like 100 emotes that somehow put my face on different objects, like bombs, like spheres, like pyramids, and other things.
Yeah.
And I am pretty sure it happened the exact same way. One of the developers simply put my face onto a sphere and called it the Hubert Ball, and it just it's just in the game.
So you didn't have any. It wasn't you. You didn't have any say in this. It was just it appeared there.
I did see that. I didn't know it was actually added to the game until I saw that released. But it was quite funny.
Oh yeah. So I guess the leading thing on from that is, would you like to add more Easter eggs to the game? But I say like you added Hubert Ball. But would you ever be interested?
So that's one of the questions that I cannot answer. Because it wouldn't be an Easter egg anymore. I mean, the whole point of Easter eggs is that it's something that people discover after months after it was implemented to the game.
I mean, I'm not asking for any specifics. Just if there's like, for instance, I know that I don't know if it's still there because I don't know, I haven't checked in a while. But I know that
It is still there.
Yeah, one time after I was hiding, there was the old 079 line. I remember that, but I don't know if that's still there.
I'm not sure. But yeah, I can't promise anything because Easter eggs, by the definition,
are an Easter egg.
There's something hidden.
Yeah.
And usually when we add Easter eggs to the game, it's because of some random event. So it's not something we've been planning for months. It's just usually, we did something funny, let's add it to the game. So that's how all Easter eggs got to the game.
Yeah,
there are several. There are also several Easter eggs that people never discovered, and I'm not going to tell you that. But there are certain Easter eggs that people still haven't discovered, or at least I haven't seen people discovering.
Ooh. I guess I'm gonna have to search for that then. Honestly, I think that's it for the main questions. There's a few joke questions and not serious ones that random community members have asked, and I sort of shoved them into their own dark corner. But I think that's about it for the main important questions, which is
sure.
Quite that.
I mean, you can ask the funny ones.
Actually, no. Here's one that's unrelated, and it's not really a funny one, but it's not related to SL in any way. What's your favorite genre of music?
Oh no, it's the worst question you can ask me because I don't have any single one.
You just listen to stuff you like, and that's that.
Yeah, I mean, I like everything from rock to some like heavy dubstep. I also like electro swing and jazz. So I literally need every single kind of music. I don't like any kind of heavy metal, or I also don't like rap or pop or other things like that. I'm not really a big fan of those, though there are some good exceptions. I usually like old music, like some old rock, swing, jazz, blues.
That's good.
That's something I like.
Here's a way less serious one. Does loud equal funny? It's just someone in the community who tries.
Yes.
Oh god. Oh no. And I guess there's one more here that I'm willing to ask. I don't want to ask some of the others. What is your opinion on cat girls? We need this for the community. It's very important. It's so wonderful.
I don't have any opinions. Why would I have an opinion? It's not something people have opinions on. I mean,
I don't.
Some probably do.
I honestly don't know. Someone asked. I had a chance to ask, so hey, woo, go me. Yeah, but that is about it. I think there's there's nothing else left. It's all being exhausted. Thank you for taking the time to, I guess, join in with this and actually, I guess, spend time in this. I
Thank
do
you for
appreciate
inviting me. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't expect anything to happen. Also, thank you to Astral, who actually reached out to you initially. I think I might end the recording then.